She was invisible to most people who passed her on the street, just another face in the crowd of the forgotten. But on that hot afternoon in Lagos, when she found a wallet lying near a generator outside a cafe in Victoria Island, Ngozi Okafor held in her trembling hands something worth more than she'd seen in 3 years of living on the streets. Inside was 3 million naira in cash, platinum credit cards, and the ID of one of the wealthiest men in Nigeria. She could have disappeared with it. She could have changed her life in an instant. But what she did next, and what happened because of that single decision, would reveal a truth about human nature that most of us never see until it's too late. This is not a fairy tale. This is what actually happened in Lagos, and I promise you, the ending would change how you see everything. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you are new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The afternoon Ngozi found that wallet, she hadn't eaten a proper meal in 2 days. Her slippers were worn through, her wrapper was faded and torn, and she was 4 months behind on the storage facility in Yaba where she kept the last photos of her daughter. 3 million naira could have solved every immediate problem in her life. It could have given her a chance to start over, to get off the streets, to reclaim some dignity. So why didn't she keep it? And what was the billionaire thinking when he realized his wallet was gone? These questions would lead to a series of events that no one could have predicted. Ngozi Okafor wasn't always homeless. 6 years earlier, she'd been a registered nurse at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, working long shifts to support her daughter Chioma after her husband abandoned them. She had a decent 2-bedroom flat in Surulere, saved enough money for Chioma's school fees at a good secondary school, and even had plans to start her own small clinic someday. Life wasn't easy, but it was respectable, and she'd built it all with her own hands and determination. Then came the day that changed everything. Chioma was 13 years old when she fell sick with what they thought was malaria. But it wasn't malaria. By the time the doctors at Luth realized it was meningitis, it was too late. Ngozi watched her only child, her reason for living, slip away despite everything the hospital tried to do. Chioma died on a Tuesday evening, and something in Ngozi died with her. The grief was unbearable. She couldn't go back to work, couldn't face the hospital corridors where she'd fought so hard to save her daughter. The medical bills from Chioma's treatment consumed her savings. Then came the depression, the inability to pay rent, the prescription medications that were supposed to help her sleep but became something she couldn't live without. Her landlord evicted her after 6 months of unpaid rent. Her family in Enugu tried to help at first, but they had their own struggles, their own children to feed. Ngozi's sister in Ikeja took her in for a while, but the relationship fractured under the weight of Ngozi's grief and growing addiction to tramadol. Within 3 years, Ngozi was on the streets, sleeping under the bridge at Ojuelega some nights, in front of closed shops in Balogun Market on others, always moving, always invisible to the Lagos that rushed past her. But here's what people didn't know about Ngozi. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the layers of loss and pain, she still remembered the woman who had worked double shifts to send her daughter to a good school. She remembered what integrity felt like, what it meant to hold your head high. And that afternoon, staring at someone else's money, she remembered who she used to be. The name on the driver's license read Chief Adebayo Olumide, and even Ngozi, who hadn't followed the news much in recent years, knew that name. Chief Olumide was the chairman of Olumide Holdings, one of the largest conglomerates in West Africa. His companies dealt in oil, real estate, telecommunications. His face appeared in newspapers, his convoys blocked traffic, his name was spoken with a mixture of respect and envy. The address on his license was in Banana Island, the most exclusive neighborhood in Lagos, where houses cost billions of naira. Ngozi sat on the dusty pavement near that cafe for nearly 30 minutes, the wallet heavy in her lap. She thought about her storage facility, about the 300,000 naira she owed that would soon be sold off if she didn't pay. Inside that facility were Chioma's school uniforms, her awards from debate competitions, the photos of her daughter's 13th birthday, just 2 months before she died. 3 million naira would pay that debt and give her enough to rent a room, buy food, maybe even get the help she needed to stop depending on tramadol. Nobody had seen her pick up the wallet. The generator noise had covered any sound. She could walk to Oshodi right now, disappear into the chaos of Lagos, and no one would ever know. But then a memory came to her, sharp and clear as yesterday. Chioma had been about 9 years old, and they'd been at the market in Tejosho. Ngozi had found a woman's purse on the ground with maybe 50,000 naira inside. Young Chioma had looked up at her mother with those bright, intelligent eyes and said, "Mommy, that woman must be very worried. We should find her and return it." Ngozi had smiled at her daughter's pure heart and said, "You're absolutely right, my dear. Let's find her." They'd spent an hour asking around until they found the panicked woman who'd lost her purse. The woman had cried with relief and tried to give them a reward, but Ngozi had refused. Chioma had been so proud that day, chattering all the way home about how good it felt to help someone. Now, sitting on this hot Lagos afternoon with 3 million naira in her hands, Ngozi could hear her daughter's voice as clearly as if Chioma was sitting beside her, reminding her who they were, who she had raised her to be. Ngozi stood up on shaking legs and walked back into the cafe. The security guard at the door looked at her with immediate suspicion, his hand moving toward his baton. Street people weren't welcome in places like this. But Ngozi held up the wallet and said, "Please, I found this outside. It belongs to Chief Olumide." The security guard's expression changed from suspicion to shock. He quickly called the manager, who came rushing out. Within minutes, they'd verified the contents, made several phone calls, and insisted Ngozi sit down and wait. They brought her bottled water, the first cold drink she'd had in months, and she sat in that air-conditioned cafe feeling like a ghost among the living, waiting for Chief Adebayo Olumide to arrive. When Chief Olumide's convoy pulled up outside the cafe 45 minutes later, the street seemed to hold its breath. 2 security vehicles arrived first, then his black Range Rover, then another security vehicle behind. Chief Olumide stepped out, a tall man in his 50s wearing an agbada that probably cost more than most people earned in a year. His presence commanded attention. Everyone in the cafe stood straighter. The manager rushed to greet him. But Chief Olumide walked directly to where Ngozi sat, and she saw his eyes take in everything about her. The faded wrapper, the worn slippers, the weathered face of someone who'd lived rough for too long. She waited for the contempt, for the dismissive gratitude that powerful men sometimes show to those beneath them. Instead, Chief Olumide did something unexpected. He sat down across from her at the small table, waving away his security detail, and looked directly into her eyes. "My sister, thank you," he said in Yoruba, his voice carrying genuine warmth. "Not many people would have done what you just did, especially not in your situation." He switched to English. "I know what was in that wallet. I know what kind of money would mean to someone living on the streets. The fact that you returned it tells me something about your character that money cannot buy." He opened the wallet, counted out 500,000 naira, and placed it on the table in front of her. "Please, take this. You've earned it." Ngozi stared at the money. 500,000 naira. It was more than she'd seen in 3 years. It would solve some problems, pay off the storage facility, maybe rent a room for a few months. She could take it, thank this powerful man, and walk away. This could all be over. But something inside her, that stubborn core of dignity that had somehow survived everything, wouldn't let it end there. "Chief, I don't want your money," Ngozi heard herself say, and she watched surprise flash across his face. "I returned your wallet because it was the right thing to do, because my daughter, before she died, taught me that doing the right thing is its own reward." Chief Olumide leaned back in his chair, studying her with new intensity. "Your daughter?" Ngozi said. "She died 6 years ago. Meningitis. She was 13. Everything I lost started from that day." She paused, then continued. "Chief, I used to be a nurse at Luth. I was good at my work. I had a flat in Surelere. I was respected in my community. I lost everything when my daughter died because I didn't know how to survive that kind of pain. I made terrible mistakes, but I'm not a bad person. I'm just someone who had her world destroyed and couldn't find a way to rebuild it." Her voice grew stronger. "If you're truly grateful for what I did today, don't give me money. Give me a chance. Help me become someone my daughter would be proud of again. Help me work, earn my way back to dignity. I don't want charity, Chief. I want the opportunity to prove I'm still worth something." The cafe had gone completely silent. Everyone was watching this exchange between the powerful billionaire and the homeless woman. Chief Olumide was quiet for a long moment, and Ngozi saw something shift in his expression. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "What is your name?" "Ngozi. Ngozi Okafor." "Ngozi, I'm going to tell you something I don't talk about often. 15 years ago, I had a younger brother. Tunde was his name. He was brilliant, studying law at University of Lagos. Then he got injured playing football and was prescribed strong painkillers. Those painkillers led him down a path of addiction that destroyed him. I tried everything to save him. Sent him to the best rehabilitation centers, hired the best doctors, gave him jobs in my companies. Nothing worked. He died 8 years ago in a hotel room in Ikeja, alone, from an overdose." Chief Olumide's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "When you walked in here today and returned my wallet, when you sat across from me and asked not for money, but for a chance to earn back your dignity, you showed me something I never saw in my brother. You showed me you are ready to fight. You showed me humility and courage. And for that reason alone, I'm going to help you." Chief Olumide pulled out his phone and made a call right there at the table. "Dr. Nnamdi Adebayo, I'm sending someone to you today. Her name is Ngozi Okafor. She's a former nurse who needs help." "Yes, the full program. I'll cover all costs personally." He hung up and turned back to Ngozi. "I run a foundation that helps people recovering from addiction get their lives back. We have a rehabilitation facility in Lekki, one of the best in West Africa. You'll enter a 90-day program starting tomorrow. Medical supervision, counseling, therapy, everything you need. After you complete the program, my foundation will help you get your nursing license reinstated and find you work." Ngozi felt tears streaming down her face. "Chief, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll complete the program," he replied firmly. "No quitting, no excuses. 90 days. If you can do that, if you can prove you're serious about changing your life, then we will help you rebuild everything. But you have to do the work, Ngozi. I can open the door, but you have to walk through it." "I will," Ngozi whispered. "I swear on my daughter's memory, I will complete it." Chief Olumide nodded. "There's one more thing. That storage facility in Yaba where you are keeping your daughter's things, consider the debts paid. Your daughter's memories are safe." That's when Ngozi completely broke down, sobbing in that cafe, overwhelmed by the impossible kindness of this stranger who had seen past her circumstances to recognize her worth.
The next 90 days were the hardest of Ngozi's life. The rehabilitation facility was rigorous, demanding, unforgiving of weakness. There were group therapy sessions where she had to face her grief, individual counseling where she had to confront the choices that had led her to the streets, medical treatment to help her body heal from years of tramadol dependence. There were nights when she wanted to run away, mornings when the pain felt unbearable, moments when she questioned if she had the strength to continue. But every time she felt like giving up, she thought about Chioma. She thought about that day in Tejosho Market when her 9-year-old daughter had insisted on doing the right thing. She thought about Chief Olumide's brother Tunde, who had never found the strength to accept help. And she thought about the promise she'd made. On day 62 of the program, Ngozi received a letter delivered by one of the foundation staff. It was from Chief Olumide, handwritten on expensive letterhead. Dear Ngozi, I want you to understand why I'm helping you. When my brother Tunde was struggling with addiction, I offered him everything: money, jobs, treatment, connections, but he was too proud to truly accept help. He couldn't humble himself enough to admit he needed to change. He died believing he could handle it alone. When you returned my wallet and asked me a chance to work instead of asking for money, you showed me something my brother never could: true humility, real courage, the understanding that accepting help is not weakness but strength. You reminded me that some people can be saved because they are willing to save themselves. I'm not helping you out of pity, Ngozi. I'm helping you because you proved to me that day that you have the character to rebuild your life. Finish this program. Do it for yourself, for your daughter's memory, and to prove that second chances are real. Your friend, Adebayo Olumide. Ngozi read that letter until she'd memorized every word. It became her anchor through the rest of the program. Ngozi Okafor completed the 90-day program on a Friday afternoon in March, exactly 3 months and 5 days after she'd found that wallet in Victoria Island. Chief Olumide was there for her graduation ceremony, sitting in the front row as 12 people received their completion certificates. Only 5 of the original 18 participants had made it through. After the ceremony, Chief Olumide handed Ngozi an envelope. Inside was a job offer letter from Lagos State University Teaching Hospital for a position as a nurse in their addiction recovery ward, helping patients transition out of treatment. The salary was better than what she'd earned before Chioma died. Then he handed her a set of keys. I own several properties in Lagos. There's a 1-bedroom flat in Surulere that's been vacant. It's yours, rent-free for 1 year while you rebuild. After that, we can discuss affordable rent. Ngozi couldn't speak. She had returned a wallet because it was the right thing to do. And somehow, impossibly, it had led to this: a job, a home, a second chance at life. There's one more thing, Chief Olumide said gently. I've arranged for all your daughter's belongings to be moved from that storage facility to your new flat. I thought you might want Chioma's photos on your walls again. 8 months later, Ngozi was working full-time at Lasouth, living in her Surulere flat and celebrating 1 year clean. She'd filled her home with Chioma's photos, creating a small memorial corner with her daughter's school awards and favorite books. And twice a month, she met Chief Olumide for lunch, an unlikely friendship built on loss, redemption, and the understanding that one moment of integrity can change everything. So let me ask you this. If you were in Ngozi's position, hungry, desperate, with 3 million naira in your hands and nobody watching, what would you have done? Would you have returned that wallet? This story teaches us that your character when no one is watching defines who you really are. Ngozi could have kept that money. She had every reason to, but she chose to be the person her daughter had always believed she was, and that choice gave her back everything she'd lost. Not just a home and a job, but her dignity, her purpose, her belief that she was still worth something. What wallet are you holding right now that doesn't belong to you? What hard choice are you avoiding? What would happen if you did the right thing even when it cost you everything? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you would have done. Tell me if this story touched your heart, and if you're new here, subscribe so you never miss the next story, because the next one will shake you even more than this one. Thank you for staying until the end. Remember, you're never too broken to be rebuilt. You just have to be willing to take that first step back to who you really are, even when the road looks impossible, even when nobody believes in you anymore. One choice can change your entire destiny. That's what Ngozi proved on a hot afternoon in Lagos, and that's what you can prove too.